Welcome in, everybody, to the 49ers podcast. I'm Matt Daniel, as always, joined by my co-host, John Gallagher. John, how you doing, bro?
Doing well. How are you?
I'm living the dream. I'm excited for this giveaway. Excited to talk to D-line. It's going to be a fun episode. It's June 23rd today. July's coming in hot. We're about a month away from training camp. You know, kind of a weird time in the summer where you're just like waiting for football to start.
It's warm here.
Yeah, it is. It's warm here. It's 100 degrees here today.
Really?
You know,
Aren't you in Washington?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
98 degrees.
Yeah, I'm in Sacramento, California, and it's walking around at like 108, 106. Just
I don't know what it's been hot because it's only June. You know, like it's gonna be a hot summer.
It's gonna be a rough July for sure.
Yeah, it's gonna be brutal. So good thing we get to record inside and do all this.
Yes.
So all right, but today's finally here. Today we are picking a winner of the signed Deebo Samuel jersey. We're going to spin a wheel, determine the winner, and I'll be in touch with you via DM, get all that logistic stuff knocked out. Before we do, make sure to follow us on Twitter. Our outs are on the screen, as well as sub to our YouTube, youtube.com/the49ers podcast. We are now fully up to date on Apple Podcasts as well, so you can listen to us on the go. Make sure you're getting all the latest info and news wherever you go. Also, I just want to thank everybody who is participating in the giveaway, supporting us during the process. We're super thankful for everybody involved in the show in any way. So, are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, let's get this thing pulled up. Full screen that bad boy. There it is.
Oh, that's a wheel. All right.
That is a wheel. So I can't even describe to you how long it took me to type these names in.
I was going to say, that looks like it took some work.
Yeah, it was. So the spin better be as dramatic as I expected it to be. So, you guys ready? Let's get it.
Get it. That's a good spin.
That's a good spin.
Who will destiny choose today?
And dumb friend Brian. Congratulations, bro.
Dumb friend Brian. Woo!
I'll hit you up on Twitter, get all that the logistics and things knocked out.
Yeah.
Congratulations, man. I love doing giveaways. Hopefully we'll be able to do more in the future. So if you didn't win this one, it's okay, because there's still plenty to come.
100%.
So let's get into news and notes. Jordan Willis suspended for 6 games for violating the league's performance-enhancing substance policies. So not great to hear. You know, with, like I talked to you a little bit about, with the injuries, it's tough because that's just how football is, right? You tear an ACL and, man, that sucks. That's just football.
Nature of the beast.
You know, when it comes to substance abuse, it's just like, man, it's something that, you finally have control over.
Yeah.
You know, and now he's going to miss 6 games.
Yeah, we should be better about that for sure.
For sure. What are your thoughts on, just in general, steroids in sports?
So I say juice them up. Like if they want to juice, if it's okay across the board, and like, you know, our juiced up guys can play against your juiced up guys, I really don't have a problem with it. I think that there is enough steroid use that goes unmentioned in the NFL to where if they were to legalize it, I don't think we see that different of a game. There's also a lot of recovery benefits that come from those cycles that the players like to do. And I'm kind of for that, because what we're asking them to do week in and week out isn't normal. So I get like the added benefits from the recovery standpoint. So I am not against juicing up or anything like that. I think that if it's, you know, if you have advice from your doctor and they say, you know, it's not going to hurt your heart, it doesn't have any kind of, you know, health detrimental effects, then I'm for it if it helps make the game better and safer for the players if it does help their recovery.
And that is a good point with the safety and the recovery aspect, because you don't really think about, you know, when I think of steroids, I think of like your ball shrinking. You know what I mean? Like
ball shrinking. You can't like, you know, scratch your back.
Yeah, right. And you like have like anger problems. You know,
right?
Just like the stereotypical. You know, and steroids are pretty, like, they're a lot more broad than that.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure. Obviously, I'm not a doctor or a scientist of any expert of any kind on steroids, but, you know, I mean, I kind of get the point where, and maybe they do, I don't know, are there certain steroids that are approved by the NFL, do you know? like recovery type like
I
creams or
don't.
something?
Yeah, I don't know because there are some medications that players can take that might
Hmm.
be like a steroid in like at its core.
Hmm.
That I'd have to take a little. I'd need to research a little bit more.
Because Will Fuller, when he got suspended last year for PEDs,
Yeah.
he said that it was just a prescription from the doctor.
Hmm.
So like, I mean, clearly there are things that you could still get in trouble for with the NFL.
Right.
It does suck for Jordan, and the 49ers
Yeah.
because, he wasn't a starter, but, depth is super important.
Depth is
We
very
like to
important.
cycle guys in.
Yeah.
So, it's not something that, you want to have to your
Yeah.
team,
The best
especially
thing
like in June,
Yeah, I mean, best thing to hope for is like I hope he doesn't take the suspension as any kind of excuse to slack off. I hope he's staying in shape so that when that 6 games is up and like we do need the depth rotation, he's ready to go.
Yep. And it's a long break for him because our week bye is 6, so he won't be back until week 8 against Chicago, I believe. So
Okay.
hopefully he takes advantage of it, and gets in good shape.
With regard to the depth that we do have, I'm pretty excited about Mo Hurst and Arden Key, the two we got from the Raiders.
Mm-hmm.
I understand that they didn't do anything that should make most people excited on the Raiders, but if you did watch their college production and you watch them play, there's a lot of raw talent there. There's a lot to be cultivated. Yeah. And I don't think that was getting done in the Raiders organization. One thing the Raiders have failed to do for years now is field a defense that was worth a damn. Mm-hmm. So I don't think that they were getting coached up correctly. I don't think that there was an emphasis on really developing those players. And I'm hoping now that they're in the 49ers building that they can really start to, put some tools together.
For sure. And one thing, like, even with like Javon Kinlaw, just like the 49ers do love to draft raw,
right.
Especially on our defensive line.
Yeah.
Just because we do have that faith in our coaching. And like you said, with Oakland, it's just a different caliber of coaching. And the 49ers have been able to just, mold those guys into, and you can't, it's obviously not going to work every time, because you're going to have work ethic issues or whatever it is, injuries. But, sometimes, once you're in the later parts of that draft and you're just picking guys, if you believe in your coaching staff enough, you can just go grab that 6'5", 240 guy who runs a 4.4,
I'm a big believer in raw talent going to the right place. Because like these coaching staffs can really develop that, and when you have a position or a situation like that where like Mo Hurst is real, Arden Key showed that he can be very, very disruptive on the edge. So with those traits, if they go to a place that wants to really bring them out, like I'm excited.
Yeah, for sure. What are your thoughts on Melvin Ingram? Did you see the Jason Verrett?
Oh, dude, a filthy, savvy veteran signing. If that does happen, that's a player with a ton of grit, a ton of dog in him, and really, really great in locker rooms. Like I don't know if you can find another player that says anything negative about him. So, yeah, that'd be a terrific signing, and that would bolster the defense tremendously.
For sure. And I mean, he's had some 10 sack seasons,
Yeah. No, he's disruptive.
A beast,
Yeah.
And, like you said, that veteran presence is something that's important too. He is 32, but I still think he does have some juice left. And I think like a 1-year vet deal, we do have the cap space, I do see us getting one more, not big signing, but, a Melvin Ingram type
that'd be sweet.
signing, if that's something that they do want to do.
Yeah.
So. All right, so let's get into defensive line a little bit. Before we break down the players individually, I want to talk a little bit about why the defensive line is so important to the 49ers. So one point is, like I said earlier, with the way that we cycle guys, because, fresh legs, this is a pretty popular practice by, NFL teams in general. But the 49ers do like to do that a lot. They like to, like you said, fresh legs. They do a lot of situational, basically like D Ford's not going to be in the game for 4 downs, 3 downs. He's going to be in there on 3rd and 10 when it's a pass down, and when you have a good defensive line, it helps everybody. And we've 100%. Seen everything that Kyle Shanahan has done since he's been here, and John Lynch, their priority has been the defensive line, because they came in, they got Nick Bosa, they went and got D Ford. Pretty much everybody that they've gotten. I think Buckner was pre-Shanahan. I think Armstead as well. Solomon Thomas as well was another 1st round. Then Kinlaw. It just helps out everybody. It makes the secondary's life easier.
I was just going to bring it up. The pressure that it takes off the secondary when you have a defensive line that can get to the quarterback, and so your cornerbacks don't have to cover for as long, or because that is a tough thing to do, to just run routes with wide receivers for a full game. So if you have a defensive line that's disruptive, can throw off the timing and help those cornerbacks not have to cover for as long, then it boosts the whole defense tremendously.
And it's also like, if I'm a quarterback, the last thing I would want would be a good, fast, strong defensive line,
right?
Because eventually that's just going to get in your head, thinking, okay, I need to get rid of the ball quicker. Okay, I'm about to have this 300-pound guy bearing down on me.
Yeah,
it's something that you eventually, I'm sure more so for a younger quarterback, but it's still going to be something that's going to eventually start getting into your head at least a little bit, because we've seen when our defensive line took over games in 2019 specifically, it was just like, good, sorry, man, like there's nothing you can do. We did it to Rodgers, we did it to Goff, we did it to Baker. It was just like, you're literally having no shot at winning this football game, basically.
Well, because a team that has superstars at the cornerback position, but maybe a lackluster defensive line, offensive coordinator is going to see that, and they're going to go run heavy. They're going to attack that line. Whereas if you have a brilliant defensive line and just maybe average to better than average cornerbacks, you can't really. There's not a lot to do around that. You still have a defensive line that is going to be in your face. So if you want to pass, it better be out quick. And if you want to run, you're running right into that defensive line.
It's pretty much just a lose-lose at that point when your defensive line is that good. And another thing too, Chris Kosarak, our defensive line coach, has been, everybody talks about him in, a great light, in the fact that he basically, they don't really, give him full credit for how well their defensive line has been doing, but he's been able to take guys like Kerry Hyder and, turn them into, I wouldn't say elite, but
productive,
at least productive. Right.
Right.
A lot of these guys, like I said, that we're bringing in, because we do have faith in our coaching staff, a lot of it does go, I give credit to him and the fact that, they will go get this big, raw, talented guy, knowing that Kosarak's going to be able to, make the most out of him.
Yeah.
So let's do some personnel breakdown.
Okay. Is the video?
Oh, and there goes John. So it looks like I'm going to stall. I'm going to shoot him a text really quick. If not, hopefully I don't have to do this whole show solo. Sorry about that. All right, so I guess I'm going to be talking some defensive line by myself until John gets back. So as far as our 52-man roster goes, so we're typically going to be carrying about 9 guys. At least that's what we were doing last year. So Jordan Willis, he's obviously the one who just got suspended. Last year, he played 7 games for combined 13 tackles, 2 sacks, 5 quarterback hits. He was a 3rd rounder from Cincinnati, and we traded it for him last year right before the trade deadline for a 6th. He's a pretty physical guy, and he does have a lot of tools to be able to live up to the hype. He's a really good depth piece, like we were saying earlier. The way that we do like to shuffle around our defensive line a lot, and with how often the 49ers seem to get hurt, it's definitely nice to have that extra depth. So the loss of him is going to be important. We saw a lot of practice squad guys getting a lot of time last year. So yeah, I don't know what's going on with John. Hopefully we'll get him back by the end of the episode. So Eric Armstead. So last year or 2 years ago, I guess, we traded away DeForest Buckner for a 1st. It's been kind of a controversial thing when it came down to Eric Armstead. He did kind of have a down year in 2020. We've kind of all been, hoping that he was going to be the guy because we saw him play so well. We weren't really sure how much of it was the fact that he got to play next to Buck and Bosa.
Okay. I don't know.
There it is. I don't know what happened either.
Sorry about that.
But good to have you back.
Yeah, good to be back.
Anyways, so I was talking some Eric Armstead.
Mm-hmm.
So, there was a lot of controversy surrounding Eric last year when we decided to trade away Buckner instead of him.
Yeah.
And it was kind of up in the air. We were talking about whether or not, is Eric Armstead an elite tackle, or was he just good because he was next to, guys like Bosa, Ford, and Buckner, who were just taking all the attention off of him?
So I think Eric Armstead is a very good tackle, and the reason why I think he gets so much hate is actually kind of a fundamental misunderstanding of the defensive role that he's asked to play. He's supposed to eat double teams. Like he's going to eat a double team so that they can't do it to Bosa, so that they can't do it to Ford when he's in. Like his job is to get more offensive linemen to commit to him. So like at the end of the game, when his stats aren't that great, they get mad at him. But if you watch the games he's playing, he's clogging up the middle. He's making offensive linemen commit to blocking him. And that's what you need. That's what you need in the defense in order to make sure that your other superstars can be effective.
And one thing we saw last year, I mean, obviously, since Bosa missed 15 games and Ford missed, I don't know exactly how many he missed, the whole season, essentially.
Yeah.
Like you were saying with the double teams, he is guaranteed getting double teams. Because why would you double team Kerry Hyder when you can, when it's going to be Eric Armstead? So
he's 300 pounds. He's huge. You absolutely have to. So like, that's a big positive of his size and what he is on that defense. It's just like, if you don't double team him, that's when he starts to show out. And that's exactly what we want on the defensive line. Like somebody other than Bosa and other than Ford. And I bet Kinlaw is going to, need that too, which is pretty scary. But you need somebody on the line where they need to focus on you in order to let your other guys, show out. Like, and a lot of people dislike Armstead for the time that the Niners moved him to the outside. That was not Armstead's fault. That is not where he should be playing. That's not his position. So when he didn't have great sack numbers at a position where he's not really naturally a fit, people got upset. I just saw that it was a bad fit. When they kicked him inside, it looked like our defensive line was just humming. It looked a lot better.
Yeah. And I think one thing too is everyone likes to do 1-for-1 comparisons.
They really do.
Buckner is second best nose tackle in football, or defensive tackle in football,
100%.
So you can't compare him to an all-pro guy and consider him, and expect him to do that when that's just not who Eric Armstead is. Right. He's a great player, a huge asset to our team, a great leader on our team as well. He's just not, DeForest Buckner, and that's totally fine.
Right.
We traded away Buckner because he was going to cost way more money. We probably wouldn't have been able to re-sign Jimmy Ward if we were paying Buckner all that. So it's basically, Eric and Jimmy versus Buckner. Plus, it's like fantasy football. You want to trade that guy that has the value. Buckner has way more value. We were able to get a high first and able to get Javon Kinlaw out of it. If you trade Eric Armstead, you're probably not getting anywhere near that.
I agree.
So a lot more factors to go into it. I'm sure most people don't think that. I'd say it's more, casual who would, make that comparison, but that's just not the way that football works. So
it isn't. The box score stats only tell so much of the story. Like when you watch the game, like it's a big deal if an offensive line needs to commit more than one player to block you. That's a big deal, and that makes your defense nasty.
Absolutely. So let's move on. Javon Kinlaw, second year, coming off his rookie year, 14 games, 1.5 sacks, 4 quarterback hits, 3 tackles for loss. This dude is going to be a problem.
I think so.
A quote from Samson Ebukam. Did you see that? He said he's going to be having an all-pro year. That was his quote.
Love it.
So clearly everybody in the building is seeing what we are hoping to come from Javon Kinlaw. Every time someone describes him, they just say like he's huge.
That's what I'm. If it's just the eye test right now, the man is a monster. He's a big man. So if he's putting together the tools and and the skills to be even deadlier on the inside, look out.
Yep. And he seems like a really humble guy, and he just wants to go get the quarterback. That just seems to be like what he loves to do, and hopefully what he's going to do. So I'm really excited for him.
Absolutely, because it is so rare to like a defensive tackle that can get after the quarterback is so valuable, because usually you just you want your defensive tackle to be the reason why they don't get 3 yards every time they run up the middle. Like you want them to be able to shut that down, at minimum. Like you can't just run straight at him. The fact that he can get through either a center and a guard and still put pressure on a quarterback, and he looked like he could do it, kind of a lot. And I think we're going to see it more going forward, is so valuable. And it's going to be so fun to watch this next year.
And I mean, the reason why Aaron Donald has won 3 Defensive Player of the Year awards isn't because of his stat line. It's because that's his stat line and he's playing inside.
He's playing inside.
It's unheard of.
It really is, because he beats triple teams. He beats a lot of offensive linemen to get his stats.
Yeah, for sure. It's crazy what he's able to do. And even if Kinlaw shadows that barely, it's still it's super important to have that
first round pick.
It's lights out for sure. And our defensive line, I think, can reach that 2019 level. But it's going to take a Kinlaw breakout. So
yeah.
Next up, DJ Jones. In 14 games last year, he had 3 sacks, 3 quarterback hits, and 7 tackles for loss. I really like DJ Jones. I think he's one of my favorites on the team. He's just hard to not like.
Right.
He's more of a depth piece. He kind of he's a pretty versatile defensive tackle. I think he's able to do quite a bit. But he is coming in, playing. We're paying him so little, essentially. We're not expecting DJ Jones to be elite.
Right.
But he's able to come in and do his job essentially, and I think he is a pretty important part to our defense.
100%. Solid depth piece. Great morale booster. Big fan of DJ Jones on the team.
Sure. Next up, Nick Bosa.
Whew.
I mean, what else can you say? We're all just ready for Nick Bosa to be back. It's just our defensive line's never going to be the same if he's not there. He's the heart and soul of it. If he's missing, you're just going to notice that he's gone.
It's not going to be fun.
It's not going to be as fun, right? Because just at any point, he was just in the quarterback's face in a second.
He's filthy. It's absolutely filthy. And the fact that what we've seen from him is still so young in his career.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see him take the field and see how how he progresses.
For sure. That was rookie year Nick Bosa, And I'm not too worried about, the ACL, because he recovered from an ACL before. So because he tore it in college, Ohio State. So, the ACL tear that he had, he's already knows what he needs to do to get through.
Yeah.
We know that he's gotten through it and then been, a top 5 defensive end. So hopefully he can come, heal quickly. They say that he is on pace to be ready to start week 1. So fingers crossed.
Can't wait.
Next up, Samson Ebukam. We added him in free agency this year from the Rams. I'm super excited for Samson Ebukam. I think that he had 4.5 sacks last year. And the Rams were also playing him differently than I think we're going to a little bit, because they were having him play more traditional linebacker. And we're going to say, go get the quarterback.
He might be more of that Leo, that left side or weak side, backer.
Yeah, kind of like D Ford, filling that void, hopefully. And that's what he's really good at, because he's just a super athletic freak who wants to go get the quarterback.
He wants to. He wants it.
So I think that's what's going to be best for him. Like you said, him going out there is going to make sure that Armstead's staying inside. And I think that, with the coaching staff that we have, that's just going to make him even better. He can just focus on that one thing. And I think he's going to be really good.
Yep.
All right. So next up, we got D Ford.
I like
still on the team.
He's still on it. I like D Ford. It's been a bummer he hasn't been able to be as active as I'd like, but and he gets a real bad rap for the offsides lineup. But he's good when he's in. When he's playing and he's playing well, it's a lot of fun to watch. So I'm just hoping we get that a little more consistently.
Yeah, it's tough because Kyle Shanahan's status report for him was fingers crossed. That's basically what he said, and that's pretty much how it is. They said he could be ready for camp.
Okay.
So we really have no idea what's going on. Last year with Jalen Hurd, he had the back problem, and that's what D Ford's problem is too. And the back is just kind of a weird thing where it's like, okay, it's perfectly fine, and then you make one cut and you're like, I can't walk, So
Yeah, it's just
hopefully,
so much is tied to it. It's
yeah, yeah, it's a very complicated, body part. So
yeah.
I mean, I think the biggest thing like with Ford was that we paid him so much money. We paid him $85 million on
It was a
5
large
years.
signing. So
Yeah.
I do understand if there's a little disdain with the fan base, overspending that kind of money. I do get it. I think that the Niners thought they were going to get, more production, for sure. I didn't foresee the fact that we were going to rotate him so often. And then that even when we wanted to rotate him, he wasn't going to be available.
Mm-hmm.
So that does, I understand that it leaves a sour taste in the mouths of fans.
Mm-hmm. Hopefully either he can be, he can get healthy and stay healthy, or
Right.
Samson Abukum can just take over that role.
Yeah.
Either way, it's a super important, position for the way the 49ers like to play on those, those passing downs. Mm-hmm. So fingers crossed, I guess. I mean, who knows at this point when it comes to, people were speculating that he might retire. But
okay.
I mean, they've been speculating that since last year, though. So
all right.
Who knows?
It would be a pretty big bummer if he did retire with the resume he's put forward with the Niners.
Yeah, and I think that
it'd be harder for me to defend it.
Mm-hmm. And as far as like cap goes, I think this is the year that we would save the most money if we did decide to move on.
Okay.
Because they were talking about cutting him last year, but the savings wouldn't really be there. So we'll see what happens. I mean, if we do end up cutting D Ford, I mean, hopefully we're going to be able to find somebody else to fill that void. But I think the 49ers are kind of prepping to play without him. Just like if he's there, cool. If not, which kind of sucks for someone that you're paying.
You pay that much money for, and he's looked at as a luxury rather than like a staple. That does suck. I'm not a big fan of that. I just hope, fingers crossed. Like Shanahan said, like if they do get to use him and he's in, I do think he will be productive. It's just a matter of does he heal up?
Yep. All right, so let's move on to some more like depth type pieces. So we got Kevin Givens, Arden Key, Kendavius Street, Zach Kerr, Alex Barrett, Maurice Hurst, Deshaun Hall, and Darian Daniels. Do you have any of those guys you specifically want to talk about?
I like Kendavius Street a lot. That man is incredibly strong. I think there's videos of him just squatting, a building. So I'm very excited about him. He did get injured. I think it was his rookie year, and then he had to rehab his knee for the whole time. And I'm hoping that, coming into this year, he has healed up, because if he's a player that we can rotate around, he brings enough strength and power to the line where you're going to really have to take notice of him. And again, very much why I like Armstead in the middle, who demands a double team. Street can absolutely be that kind of player for us too.
And the coaching staff seems to talk really highly on him. He's kind of one of those guys, because I think he was a 4th rounder. We haven't really got to see what he could do.
No.
So it's kind of one of those things where we're just kind of waiting to seeing. Hopefully we're going to be able to see that full potential utilized.
100%.
Just got to stay healthy. I also want to talk about Arden Key.
Yep.
6'4", 240. This one's just raw athleticism.
Right.
He didn't have any sacks last year, but like you were saying earlier, he played for the Raiders. So
just a team that I don't think cultivates that much defensive production.
Yeah. And they don't seem to be able to make the best of the guys that they have currently on their roster. And that's what the 49ers are really good at, using your strengths and utilizing what you're good at and bringing out the best in you. And it's a pretty like simple defense if you're just like an edge guy.
Yeah.
Because you're not asked to, play all 3 downs. You're asked to
and I don't think they're going to overload Key with, that many assignments. I think it is going to be a lot of, there's the guy, go get him.
There's the guy, go get him. Yeah. Pretty simple,
Yeah. And if you watch him play at LSU, he can go get him. So I'm just really hoping that they can work with him and get the best out of him.
Yeah, we have a few guys who are similar to that. Just big, fast, strong, raw guys who we haven't really got to see. Deshaun Hall is one of those guys. Big potential guy. He's a big guy, an edge rusher. I think he was taken in the 3rd round. Just hasn't really lived up to the potential that you hope that you're getting from a guy.
Definitely.
And then Zach Kerr, I want to talk about him a little bit. He's a nose tackle. He's more of a vet guy. So 7 years in the NFL, 10 career sacks, 6'2", 334 pounds. So he's a big guy.
Big man.
He's like the typical nose tackle. He's someone I could see maybe making the 52, just because, he's a little bit more of a unique build compared to everyone. So they might want that aspect, just kind of like a goal line jammer kind of guy.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. I mean, it's a pretty, not really a new defensive line compared to the past couple seasons, but there are a lot of newer names.
Right.
Not all of them are going to make the roster, obviously, because our roster is going to be cut in half here in a couple weeks, months. But I don't know. It's exciting to see. So let's move on. It's time for blunt talk.
It's time for blunt talk.
John, you want to describe to us what you got for us this week?
All right. So for those who don't know, blunt talk is when I light something up and then I also speak to you bluntly about some things that I have noticed and don't appreciate in the 49er verse that we have here. All right. So to start, let me just finish lighting this up. To start, we need to stop comparing Sean McVay and Kyle Shanahan. That is a silly comparison for a number of reasons. Sean McVay is a terrific coach. The way that he has won is completely different than the way Shanahan has won. McVay inherited a stellar roster and maintained it, and maintained it in such a way where he spent all the money to make sure that those guys stay around. So with a better roster, they went heads up with our stellar roster when Shanahan finally got it. 2019, right? So we go heads up, we beat them. So their stellar roster against our stellar roster, we were victorious. The following year, they still have a stellar roster, and we do not. We still sweep. So if you're telling me that the coach with the inferior team beat the coach with the better team, and you still want the coach who lost with the better team, I don't know what we're talking about. Both coaches are absolutely terrific. They are both going to be in the NFL for a long time. But this direct comparison where we're looking at box scores or end of the season records and then saying, well, Shanahan's not that good. Look at the numbers. You are disregarding so much context within the season that it makes me mad. So that's why we're talking. That's why we're having blunt talk right now, because you made me mad.
I mean, there's so many, like you said, there's so many aspects that do go into like what makes a coach good, just because there's so many. Because I think even Bill Walsh had a losing record his first couple seasons in the NFL. So it's not, the coach can't all of a sudden make a roster good. Kyle Shanahan took over the worst roster in football. It'd be like if Robert Saleh goes 1-15 this year, they're not going to be like, wow, you're bad at coaching. They're going to say the Jets suck.
Yeah, they're going to like, look what he stepped into. And like, as a football fan, that's what you need to address first. Like most NFL teams, I'll say every NFL team, they're not motorboats that can cut on a dime. These are battle cruisers. If they want to change, it takes a long time to course correct. They make slow movements to make big adjustments.
It's not the NBA. You can't trade for 4 all-stars.
Correct.
And all of a sudden be, finals contenders. It takes years. Like usually a fast rebuild is like 3 years. Right. Which was what we did. It was a 3-year build and it felt slow, at the time. But if you really think about it with how bad we were, it was not slow.
Yeah. So that, and I think that's what people kind of forget when they start criticizing NFL teams. Like, oh, they suck. They're always going to suck. Well, you just need to pay attention to certain moves. Did they change coaching? Are they putting a prioritization on culture? Because there are some teams that used to really suck that don't now because they've made those moves. Well, I'm talking about the Miami Dolphins. I'm talking about the Washington football team. 2 teams that were the butt of every NFL joke for a long, long time. But what they've done is that they've got good head coaches in place. They put a priority on the culture and building a winning attitude. And these teams are now in conversations of being legitimate. And that, if you were going to ask a fan, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, if you thought that any of those teams had a chance to be legitimate in the coming years, they would have said no. But and that's because there is kind of this idea of like, if they're not good now, they won't be good. And they kind of, there's a disregard to the moves that are made off the field to then affect on the field play.
Mm-hmm. And another thing too, I think, is that it's sort of like a comparison that's made so often, but it's just like, why? Why does it always have to be, McVay versus Shanahan, right?
Right.
I mean, you get a little bit of it. I think it was because they actually originally coached and this for the Houston Texans together, because they were both in the same offensive
same
room.
tree. Right.
Yeah,
right.
and I think Zach Taylor and
correct
Packers coach Zach, I'm blanking on his name.
Packers coach LaFleur.
LaFleur, yeah.
Yeah.
For some reason, they all kind of came from the same, like you said, the same boat. So they do like to make that constant comparison. But at some point, they're different coaches. I mean, it probably doesn't help that they're both, the similar, the offensive minded, creative wizard kind of thing.
But they're creative in different ways.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's what I really appreciate. So I would, one thing I'm going to ask the rest of the fans to consider, rather than doing the 1-by-1 comparison or 1-to-1 comparison, let's appreciate that better coaches are coming into the NFL. The NFL is more competitive now, is getting better offenses and better schemes put in place, and it's going to make the game better. The rising tide raises all ships. So when you have good coaches in place, and we have great coaches in our division, and it's a challenge, but that challenge makes the Niners good. Like that challenge makes teams better if they rise to it.
Yep. And a good coach coaching with another coach just makes that coach better. Robert Saleh, I'm sure, became a better coach being under Kyle Shanahan. Just like Kyle Shanahan, was he from the Belichick tree at some point, I'm assuming? I don't know. Who was Kyle Shanahan's?
His dad.
I get his dad.
Yeah. So like they've got a family lineage of just, they know football.
Yeah. So, I mean, that alone, is going to help improve. Like you said, rising tide, raises all ships. So hopefully it's interesting because of, minus Kingsbury, pretty good coaching in our division.
Yeah. Kingsbury's kind of an anomaly.
Yeah. He is kind of an anomaly. It'll be interesting to see. Because some people, do like to rope him in the same, but it's just kind of like,
I haven't seen that yet. They do have some pretty explosive offensive plays, week to week. But on the whole, when you watch a Cardinals game, it's kind of I don't see quality football being played. I see some flashy football being played sometimes, but in terms of being legitimate in our division and actually being a contender, they look like they need to make some changes.
Yeah, they've definitely got a few things that they need to patch up. But I don't know how much of it is just like Murray being good and how much of it,
Murray's really good too.
Is the coaching, but Murray is really good. So
yeah.
Man, could you imagine him in a Kyle Shanahan offense?
That's what. Yeah, I think Murray masks a lot of the silly things that Kingsbury runs in a game.
Yeah, that could be too. We've seen. That could be the same with Pete Carroll too. Like how, because I've seen Pete Carroll we've all seen him make some dumb decisions. At the Super Bowl.
But Wilson is that guy.
But Wilson's just so good that he just masks everything that happens. So
yeah.
It's tough to tell. Who knows? Hopefully, Trey Lance will be good enough that we'll get the best both worlds. So
that'd be great.
That's going to do it for us today, guys. Thanks everybody for coming in. We will see you guys next week.
You guys take care.
Sounds like football, baby.
Montana looking, throwing in the end zone. Feels great, baby.